Well, good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to the Travel Mole interview during this COVID-19 period. And I am more than delighted to have with me today is Larry from Detroit. Larry Alexander is the top man at Detroit CVB, and he's going to tell us what Detroit have been doing, what they're doing right now, and what his aspirations for the future will be. Well, good morning to you, Larry.
And good morning, Graham, and to all of your listeners as well. I tell you, this is a great honor, and I'm thrilled to be a part of your broadcast.
Excellent. Well, Larry, Detroit has gone under some fantastic, everybody knows it as the comeback city, but are you the man that's created you the comeback kid, are you? Are you the man in charge?
Well, no, not quite. I'm the guy that's responsible for communicating that comeback to all of your listeners and to the world. There's no question that we've had tremendous investment over the last 5 to 7 years in our downtown core. The last calculation that we were able to put together was something north of $10 billion that has been invested in our downtown community. There are a number of people that have made that happen. Obviously, Dan Gilbert and the Gilbert Organization, Chris Illich and the Illich Organization, General Motors, Ford Motor Company, number of small business owners that have invested in opening up restaurants and independent hotel operations, new attractions that have come on board. So it has been a collection of people that have seen the value of investing in this downtown core, understanding what it can mean for their future ROI and for the future of the city. And our responsibility is just to go out and tell the world about all these great new things that we have to offer visitors to come in and see what we look like now.
I think you're being a little bashful because I think you've been involved for some considerable period. How long have you been in Detroit, and how long have you been at Detroit CVB?
I've been in Detroit for almost 30 years now. I moved here in 1993 in my former career with Westin Hotels and Resorts. We have Westin did have a big hotel in the downtown core, which was the Renaissance Center, the Westin Renaissance Center. It's a 1,400 guest room hotel. It's now operated by Marriott. So I've been with Westin for 23 plus years when I moved here to Detroit. And then I was asked to step into the nonprofit sector with the board here. And so I've been with the Convention and Visitors Bureau for 22 years. I joined them back in 1999 and have been here ever since. And so we've come a long way in promoting, marketing, enticing people to come see, feel, and touch this change that we have here.
It's interesting because tourism as an economic contributor to the economy, as well as social and well-being, must have changed also in that time dramatically.
Absolutely. Our number of visitors has grown dramatically. We welcome over 16 million visitors now to our metropolitan region. The economic spending that comes from all of those visitors is something north of $6 billion that they spend. That's both domestically and internationally. And so it truly has been, I've been fortunate to see this continual growth in what has taken place in our market. But we've had our challenges, Graham, as you well know. We can go back to 9/11, and we saw a slump during that time period. Back in 2000, the end of 2008 and 2009, with the recession that we had to experience, we got through that and started to make the curve and headed back up. And now here we are hitting a high with the number of major events and more groups and more visitors. And now we have this COVID virus that is really affecting us and has put a standstill to travel, not only here in Detroit, but across the globe. But we'll come back from it. We know that we're going to come out of it. We just don't know how long it's going to take.
No, it's interesting. We'll get back to the COVID period in a second. I just wanted to go through some of the things about Detroit itself and why people are so attracted to it now. I mean, speaking personally, the first time I ever went to Detroit was in 1987. I didn't come back to Detroit until 2017, and it was like visiting a different planet, quite frankly. And in that time, all of the inherent culture that's part of Detroit, including industrial car making culture, but music, food, and just generally, you know, a bonhomie, you know, friendliness came through in 2017, and I've been back since. But that came through in bucket loads. Is that something that is natural, or is something you've purposely worked for? I mean, industrial heritage, these artisans, the people like, I mean, I've got a watch on here from Shinola, which is a Detroit, you know, originally an artisan leather works, but, you know, that's a typical example of what I saw in the new Detroit.
Well, you hit the nail on the head, Graham. We went through a thorough analysis about 12 years ago to evaluate what are the key attributes that we have to attract visitors to our destination. And it took us almost 18 months to get this analysis done. But at the end of that process, and that included talking to a number of individuals that had been to Detroit and had not come back, people who had been here like yourself years ago and then had come back, and people who had never been to Detroit as to what they might think about this destination. And we came up with these 5 different attributes that we have to offer. And it's real simple: cars, culture, gaming, music, and sports. And when you think about that, manufacturing base and the cars that are created, the International Auto Show that takes place every year, showcasing new product, the culture that we have with our cultural attractions, and theater, second only to New York City with the number of theater seats that we have available. Gaming with 3 land-based casinos now that are all top-notch casinos, the same quality you would find in a Las Vegas, all with hotels attached. Music, there's no question we have such a wonderful music history here with the Motown sound and what was created. People who wanting to see jazz, see the historical landmarks that Motown created. And of course our sporting teams, and that's what we've seen with our biggest growth here recently. All of 4 of our major sporting teams are in our downtown core now, within a 5-block radius of each other. And we're one of the only cities in the country that can say that we have that. So when you think of football, basketball, hockey, and baseball, it's all within our downtown core. And all of those facilities have the ability to host major concerts as well. And so we can have concerts that go from 5,000 people up to 60,000 people. So it's all very compact. And then you add to that the number of restaurants that we have added. My waistline won't allow me to go out and experience all of them, but my staff tell me that they're all phenomenal. We've had over 110 restaurants that have been added in the last 2.5 years. And they're all phenomenal. So we've got the complete package here that's available. And then think about our partner Delta Airlines, who has direct flights from the UK into Detroit. And so it's easily accessible. People can get in, and we're still a very affordable destination for people to visit. So it's a great package that we have to offer to visitors to come in, especially from your side of the pond.
That's excellent. I mean, there's very few people that don't like Motown, put it that way. I've yet to meet one. So, I mean, I've been to Hitsville, and it's extraordinary. The other little shout out I was going to give for one of the attractions in the Detroit area is the Henry Ford Museum of Modern Innovation. And I've been to all of the major museums in DC, most of them around the US. That is in the top 1, I would say. It's fantastic.
No question about it. And the fact that it's an indoor-outdoor historical museum, when you think of the vision that Henry Ford had to begin to pull this together, and the magnitude of the innovation that they show in this facility is one of a kind. And you really can't find it anywhere else that you may go for a museum experience. So it's one of those attractions that we've had for many, many years. It truly is a story that is told when you go through that facility. And we know that from an education standpoint, young people and people my age walk out of there and they have been amazed at what they've been able to see and experience when they go to the Henry Ford Museum.
It was, I mean, I went there for, I think, the first time last year, and one of the ladies, a friend of mine, Vicky Evans, she took me around, and we also went to the Ford factory next door, and it was just fantastic. But let's move on a little bit to today. We've got this COVID-19 problem. What have you been able to do for, in terms of keeping the Detroit name in the frame, and also have you been able to help in any way your stakeholders?
Well, great question, Graham. First of all, we recognize that we've had to be very sensitive to the general public and really not go out to do any hard marketing or hard selling, because at this juncture, people across various audiences that we go out to are struggling. You know, some of them are working, some of them are not working. Some of them are suffering with family members who have the disease or have had the disease. And so we know that at this juncture, this is not the right time for us to be doing a hard sell. However, as you articulated, it is important for us to let them know that we are sensitive here in Detroit to what they're seeing and feeling, and also that when they are ready to think about traveling again, remember Detroit. We also want to be sure that they recognize what Detroit is doing to help throughout this COVID virus. When you think about it, remember Detroit was turned into the arsenal of democracy, and we converted from building cars to tanks back during the war. Now we've got manufacturing plants that are building machines, PPE, ventilators, thank you. Building ventilators and helping with masks and gloves and all of those PPE equipment that the health communities need. So Detroit is stepping up again with its manufacturing base and its might to help throughout this crisis. But from our partner standpoint, what we've done is we've taken some of the virtual tours that they have, and we have put those online from just a standpoint of letting people know what there is to see and do here, and give them some extra things that they can do when they're sitting in front of their computer, sitting in their homes, being sure that their kids are occupied, being sure that there are opportunities for them to expand their minds and not be so focused on, you know, the devastating impact that this disease is having on people, but think about something different and something positive. And our partners really have appreciated that. But it's not a hard sell, believe me, not at all at this time, Graham. We want the world to know that we recognize what they're going through and that we're sensitive to their feelings and their needs, and that at the appropriate time, when they're ready to branch out and this stay at home orders have been lifted across the globe, that we're here and ready to serve their needs.
Now, I know it's a sensitive subject, both in America, but particularly in Michigan at the moment, with regard to funding tourism and funding tourism marketing. I wondered if you could comment, do you think that it will be necessary for the government, both state and national, to dig a little deeper into their pockets to help the revival? Because it would appear that tourism is a much more important economic contributor nowadays than it was even 12 years ago after the financial crash. And because of the heavy multiplier effect in the economy that tourism has, you know, in other words, you know, you spend $1, you create 3 or 4 jobs.
Right.
That's also important. Do you think that the government will have to do that?
Absolutely. And this is when I get on my soapbox and I start preaching about the importance of tourism to our overall economy, not only here in Michigan and the United States, but across the globe. You know, there have been statistics that show that 1 out of every 6 jobs is a tourism-related job. And when you think about the number of small businesses that are in the tourism business, not just the big box hotels, the big restaurant chains, the big airlines, but think about retail, transportation companies, no question the restaurant communities, people that are doing tours. You know, we've got small companies that are one person that's doing individual tours for groups of 6 to 10 that are impacted for this because there's no place for them to go and the attractions are closed. So this really is a widespread industry. And when you think of the jobs and the tax base that is impacted from the lack of people traveling, it's devastating. So I really believe that when you look at the future, tourism is one of those industries that will help the economy come back. But unfortunately, this virus is devastating to our industry because we're in the business of bringing people together, Graham. We're in the business of promoting people to travel and to leave their homes, the safety of their homes, and come out and be a part of something that's bigger than what they've seen before, whether it be a major event or a major concert or a sporting event or eating in one of the restaurants. We're in the business of pulling people together. This virus is telling people to stay apart. And that's right now, the only defense we have in this country is separation, keeping the social distancing. Now, we recognize that that's important at this juncture because it helps to save lives. And if we can do that, then we all have to step up and do our part to be sure that we're consistent in trying to save lives. But when it does turn, and when hopefully we get enough testing and we get a vaccine that is proven and tested to be out there that will help individuals, then I think it will be the time for us to go out and really solicit and encourage people to travel again and get them to come and see, feel, and experience what we have to offer.
Good. Well, final question, Larry. Do you think that this new post-COVID world, as far as travel is concerned, will be, if not bigger, but it may be better? I spoke to Butch Bearden of Nashville on Monday, and we were talking a little bit there on his interview that people will be more appreciative of travel. They will appreciative of little things, of things that we took for granted, or now you get teary-eyed about them because you can't. And as you quite rightly said, tourism is about bringing people together, not just for economic benefit, but for social benefit as well. And do you think that the world will be like that they will be more appreciative, or do you think we will just, you know, in a couple of years, we'll be rolling as we were six months ago?
Well, I sincerely hope it's the former rather than the latter. First of all, none of us really knows what we're going to look like when we come out of this. We've all got opinions and we've all got thoughts about what the new is going to look like and what it's going to be like. What I've told my staff and what I believe is that we may not know what it will look like, but we've got to be prepared for whatever it looks like. We've got to be nimble. We've got to be quick. We've got to be ready to read what's taking place from a expectation standpoint of both meeting planners and visitors and respond to that expectation. I don't think that we can push our beliefs and opinions on individuals because they've got to make their own decisions. Some will be very concerned with safety, and we've talked to our partners about being sure that we have that information so that we could communicate that. Some will be very interested in doing travel again because of the pent-up demand that has been placed upon them. Some will not have the ability to do travel at this juncture because, you know, they're going to need to catch up on expenses that they have been forced to do without for a while. So there's going to be certain pockets of demand and need that we as DMOs will have to respond to, and that we as travel organizations will have to respond to. I think we're going to have to be very in tune to what the customer's expectations are and really listening to what they would like to see and then responding to that and provide them what they want to see and hear. And it's going to be different. You know, I could envision, Graham, that every time we walk into a meeting now, there's going to be somebody at the door sticking a thermometer up at our forehead, checking our temperatures. That could be the new norm. We don't know that. I could see that there may be masks required for a period of time in restaurants or in theaters. So my point is that there are going to be different needs, different demands, and different expectations everywhere we turn. From a travel standpoint, we've got to be prepared to respond and provide that need so that the general public feels safe and secure when they're traveling to a destination.
Good. Well, Larry, I wish you very best of luck in your endeavors. I hope it's not too long before I'm in Detroit, one of the few cities, I think, that looks south on Canada. That was one of the little facts I picked up when I was there last time. But as I said, best of luck to you and your colleagues, and I hope to see you soon.
Thank you, Graham. We'd love to welcome you back, and we appreciate the interest in our great city.
Cheers.